intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. It creates a new world to mind a shift, intentionality, perceptuality, conceptuality. We are choosing to shift our mind to best for the world, best for our world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional.
Welcome back to Best for the World live broadcasting. This episode takes place in our studio, and I'm very honored to have a friend and very inspiring person in the studio that will actually share his wildest dream. And but he's not only dreaming this dream, but he's also architecturing this dream. Very warm welcome to Emir Kamber-Mujisinovic.
Thanks a lot, Jens, and very happy to be here. Yeah, basically about my dream, it started when I was 4 years old, and I had this wild dream of uniting all the troublemakers in the world and making a world a better place. But however, growing up, I forgot about that dream, and instead I just became one of those spoiled little kids that got everything by his parents. But life, destiny, or universe had some other plans for me. It set my home and city, Sarajevo, on fire, and made us actually lose everything and becoming refugees and ending up in Sweden. And it's kind of sort of dragged my face down through the mud and make me relate and feel what it's really, how it is really to be socially vulnerable and grow up with parents with PTSD, and basically struggling to find my own identity and just find my place. But however, 3 years ago I started working on a social business, just with that thing on social innovation and uniting troublemakers, and that dream I had 33 years ago is finally becoming a reality.
Can you say a little bit about what you have been doing in the last 3 years? What has been your work basically?
Well, basically it started with a simple idea when me and my partner, we read a report that in Malmö actually every third child was living in child poverty, and we wanted to make a difference because I could relate to my own growing up, how it felt when you felt different from all the other kids, not having the things that they had and being ashamed of your home. And she, who had grown up in the slums area of Santiago de Chile, she basically could relate to it even more. She was an architect, is an architect, and I had my background in marketing and business administration, so we started our first socially sustainable interior design studio, called it Hemma Trivasi, basically meaning a home to enjoy, with a vision that every child deserves a home to enjoy. And we started out by collecting furniture, fixing children's rooms, but something bigger grew out of that whole idea. It became a laboratory of trust among people. We not only started fixing furniture, but also people as well. We created working groups out of newly arrived immigrants, designers, architects, handcraftsmen, and we united them with Swedes who were currently outside of the labor market for a very long time, and basically had a space where we could exchange knowledge, language training, and build trust to each other. So during these last 2 years we had not only done children's room, but we also had done workshops in schools in order to inspire kids in segregated areas of Malmö to learn more about architecture, design, creativity, because there's a lot of talk about that creativity and diversity, it's some sort fits together, but if you take a look at the design and the creative business right now, it's a very segregated one where basically everyone looks the same. So that is our idea also, to be planting the seeds for the future diverse business of creativity. So yeah, that's what we've been doing the last years. And, it has resulted in several awards and different collaborations of exciting things.
And I mean, this is already inspiring in itself, and I mean, I'm impressed by the work that you have done, and I mean, I'm also met some of the people who have been working with you. You have enabled, like you said, people who are normally, how can I say it, very far away from the social system that we are having, and have given them a chance to actually contribute with their strength. And I know that you believe there's a place for every person in our society, and if we, it's just more matter of can we identify this place, or can we enable that person to find and create that place for him or herself themselves. So, but what I want to come to is that you have an even wilder dream. Can you tell us what is your vision for Malmö?
Yeah, basically when we start out, our project name was supposed to be called Ett hemma trivasi and Stad trivasi, which means a home to enjoy, a city to enjoy. With this philosophy we have by basically, if you are happy in your home, you will basically be happy in the city where you live. But the name was too long, so we just decided to shorten it and cut out the part Stad trivasi, a city to enjoy. But what I've been doing the last month together with you has been forming a network for not only businesses, but also the public and the private sector to unite, a purposeful network called En Stad trivasi, which basically has the vision of creating Malmö and helping Malmö to become the most socially sustainable, creative and inclusive city in the world, resulting in Nobel Peace Prize 2030, together with all the citizens of Malmö. And I believe that Malmö is unique in its kind of way that it's the third most diverse city in the world. You only have, I believe, London and New York before Malmö. Malmö has 186 nationalities. But if you take a look at diversity per capita, Malmö, which is only 350,000 citizens, I believe it's quite amazing to have that density and diversity in such a small town, and that is a unique strength that has not been used so far. We have an amazing city, but which unfortunately is a segregated one. So our idea is to create this network where we can facilitate corporate engagement, not only by corporations but their employees themselves, and made it easy for them to engage in community activities, and also to scale up with our actual meeting places where we can have these workshops and places where people can meet and cooperate and contribute something valuable.
I mean, I'm living myself in Malmö, and I feel the vibration that this city has. You know, it has so much to offer. It is called the Falafel City. It has so much diversity in food, so much diversity in people background and cultures, and it's has such a vibrating culture. It's a phenomenal place to live in, and at the same time, I see. And this is also how you relate to it with your personal story. I see so much unused potential, or it has so much more potential, because you spoke about issues of segregation, of people being excluded from actually co-creating together with businesses, together with the municipality, a city, a thriving city, a socially sustainable city, and that project and Stad trivasi is basically tapping into this potential, enabling people to co-create, to express themselves. Can you give us some concrete examples of how this social innovation lab looks like, or what activities are run?
Yeah, basically we have two main areas. One is to create trust among citizens and make them feel valuable, that every person can contribute something to their city, and remind ourselves that we are not stronger than the weakest link. And the second part is basically empowering children, because I can relate myself how it is to grow up in a segregated area of Malmö, and basically not have any hope about the future. I experienced all that, and that's why I want to give back to the community, and that's also why we have started with this Malmö Heart campaign, where we have collaborated with a close friend, Alex von Suk, who designed a Malmö Heart poster. So what we actually do is that we visit schools and we show the kids the poster, and we ask them if they can basically recognize which organ it is from the body, and they say it's the heart. And I ask them, can you see which city it is? And they say Malmö, of course. And then they get a writing exercise to write down their feelings, what they feel about Malmö, both positive and negative ones. And basically I just got that inspiration from acquaintance I have on LinkedIn, Stina Lodén, who has a course called Unwrite Yourself. Basically, it's a course in writing and dealing with traumas. So we decided to try that out on the children, so they could write out basically everything that's going around them, the shootings, the crime, the violence. And we have received hundreds of extremely inspiring stories from the children, and that is something that we want to continue to do. So our goal is to reach out to 10,000 kids this year through the writing workshops, and also by inspiration talks. I myself are one of the speakers, but I have also many close friends that have grown up in the segregated parts of area, and they specifically have told me that I wish there was these kind of activities when I was growing up, because whenever we had a visit coming to the school, nobody came who looked like me or talked like me. So I think we think it's basically very important to show kids some positive examples and some positive role models, so they can relate to that, and also remember that still, even though all the difficulties many kids will face in life for being different and not being, strictly to the norm, they will have a harder path, but not an impossible one. And it's also worth remembering that still Sweden is one of the world's best country to grow up in, and the kids that they have all the possibilities to become anything that they want. So that's basically what we want to accomplish this year with, for example, one of the Malmö Hearts story posters.
I think it's so important what you say, that we always speak about the value of role models, but I think we need to look at it more nuanced as well, and say we also need role models that I, as an individual person, can relate to. I need to see someone who is basically coming from my similar background and achieving something outstanding, and it's not someone I basically don't have any close relationship to, or you can't relate to. You were speaking about trauma, that invokes in me a very dark, negative association, but actually that's not really the case. Can you share some of, or one example of the kid's story? Because I think, at least what I've written, what I've read, is that they are very inspiring, and they have a very positive annotation and a very positive outlook from the kids towards Malmö.
Yeah, exactly. The stories we have received are extremely inspiring, and what the things that the kids write are quite amazing. And that there are so many things that we take for granted. For example, there was a story by a kid who was so grateful for everything in Malmö, and he was so happy that in Malmö they don't hit children. So yeah, I mean, and there were other stories about that they were just thankful for the falafel, the pizza, the beach, all the parks, and even though these are kids who live in one of the worst areas of Malmö, where gang shootings and violence is happening every day. So it's very. I think it's also very important to reach out to children before it gets too late, because that was what I was told by the principal, that all these positive stories, they go somewhere up until maybe 13 years of age, and then it is then where the negativity starts to kick in, and they start to see themselves as helpless, start to see themselves as different, not able to get a summer job, and just give up on their hopes and dreams and themselves. So I think it's very important to reach out to the children before it's too late. When we make presentations, we have a illustration which illustrates a dashboard of a car, and I usually say that even though I don't know anything about cars, I know for a fact when the car engine turns red, it is time to take it to the mechanic shop, because if I wait until it's broken down completely, the cost will be tenfolded. So the question is, if we can do that thing to our cars, why don't we do the same things with the children, that we make interventions before it's too late, and before the cost for the society are extremely high when it has gone already wrong.
And what you're doing in your approach to social inclusion, to empowering youth to express their creativity, is taking a holistic perspective, right? You're trying to bring in municipalities, organizations, and the kids to work together. My question here is, how can these entities get involved in your work? How can they support you?
Well, basically we have created this model, which is already known, by the way, as the Malmö model, where there's this unique cooperation between the public, the private, and the NGO sector. So that is what we are trying to do, to be the link in between, and what also makes us a little bit different from all the existing traditional NGOs, that we don't do projects. We are like tied to a specific goal and outcome, but by rather working towards a vision, which we have in 10 years, to become one of the world's most socially sustainable, inclusive, and creative city. And then we can be more agile and change our direction when both problems and opportunities come along the way. And basically that's what has happened since we started out just with the idea of fixing kids' rooms, but now we have creating this meeting place, and we're also soonly doing a campaign for to be nominating Sweden's first Minister of Loneliness. It's a sunshine story about a 60-year-old man, one of the neighbors where we have our office, who came down one day and asked what we were doing, and I explained to him, and he said he would love to help out, but to be honest, I didn't see much use of him. He was a former drug addict, criminal, homeless person, but he kept returning every day, and we eventually gave him some tools, and it turned out that he used to have his own painting company. And he's been around for the last year together with us, helping us a lot. And basically, so the idea is now to make him Sweden's first Minister of Loneliness, to connect with the neighbors, to facilitate for us to create these meeting places, and also to have him feel as a part of society.
Well, I feel so touched by when you talk about this, because I feel there's so much love, and so much understanding and personal experience also from your own story, and that you just want to give back. What I'm looking for is now, what is you have already talked about the plans, the activities that you've been running with this social innovation lab. and that is also difficult in a way of predicting what exactly will be done in the future. But this is exactly why it's a social innovation lab, because you're trying to experiment in different ways, finding path for co-creation, finding path to create social meeting places to bring these different actors together. So to come a little bit to the end of the session, where can people find more information? Where can organizations find more information? How can they get in contact with you?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn. There, I'm quite active there. We have our own website at hematrivasi.se, and yeah, I'm happy for new co-creation, collaboration, and I can also mention that we are also starting up a new social impact company connected with architecture. It's called Architects of Our Wildest Dreams. The idea of the company is basically to be serving the community, so you can basically think of it as a traditional architect company gone wild that starts serving communities and also helping individuals empowering themselves. And what we are trying to include in that company is basically of all the talent that is not being used in Sweden right now, which are the foreign-born academics. There's actually a study done by USEC that Sweden is losing 13 billion Swedish crowns every year in lost tax revenue because foreign-born academics are not working with what they're supposed to do. So the idea of Architects of Our Wildest Dreams is to facilitate for them and to create business opportunities, not only in Sweden. Just in these last 3 months, we have located around 25 architects from all over the world, which are not able to find work on a market of 10 million people here in Sweden. But however, with their experience at network, we can take their knowledge and be serving a market of several billion. And I think there's a tremendous business opportunity there. And the structure of the company will be as a Swedish SVAB, which it means it will be a sort of it will be profit earning company, but however, instead of paying the earnings back to the shareholders, it will be reinvested into the company itself. So the idea is constantly to be serving the community, creating new projects and employing new people.
I see that you are the living example of creativity here, and as I said before, this is not only dreaming up these wild dreams, but being really architecturing the implementation of these wild dreams. Do you have, as some last words, any advice for the youth, for other people out there? What can you do in order to really follow your dreams and how to realize your dreams?
I believe, as I read from my favorite writer and Astrid Lindgren, and the book I used to read over and over again about Pippi Longstocking. And when I was living in Sarajevo, I always dreamt what it would be to living in her country, and somehow I ended up living here after all. And she has this quote that all the great things that has happened and been accomplished, it started with as a single thought in someone's imagination. So I think it all starts with a small thought, and just to no matter how small the steps might be, just to continue taking them every single day, and also never forget to be kind on yourself, because I know from my own experience, many others, that we tend to be ourselves, our own worst critics, and just to remind ourselves that we are doing a good job, and that we are not competing against anyone, that everything has its own space. So just to be staying true to your own nature, and also in some kind of way trying to reconnect with your inner child, that little dream that you had when you were a 4 or 5 year old. By the way, according to NASA, they did a study on 1,600 kids and came to the conclusion that 98% of the kids were labeled as creative geniuses, and while doing the same result test with the adults, it was only 2%. So yeah, we should never stop being curious and always dare to be our true selves and ask that question why.
Wow. Amazing. I mean, I'm speechless. Thank you so much, Emir Kamba-Mojasinovic from the Social Innovation Lab for Malmö in Startup Trivasi.
Thanks a lot for having me here. Appreciate it.
We are creating the world we're now living in. We are competing in. We are repeating in. We are believing in. It's time for us to shift our mind from best in the world to best for the world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. It creates a new world to mind a shift, intentionality, perceptuality, conceptuality. We are choosing to shift our mind to best for the world, best for our world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional.